widgets.
We put the you probably don't remember this, the Johnny Carson segment where he puts the card to a thing to his head and he says, and then he asks the question where widgets is the answer. The dumbest feature Microsoft has added to Windows since 1995.
Can't say I'm familiar with that skit. Obviously, I know who
Right,
Johnny
sorry,
Carson
it's
is.
the Great Karnak. You can look it up later.
But
anyway, widgets, yes.
Third-party widgets are making an appearance with the latest build 25217 for those keeping score at home.
What is the point of even trying to remember build numbers at this point? They come like bullet fire.
Yeah.
You know? And it's like trying to keep in your head, like you can tell by the first couple of numbers what, channel it's in or whatever.
And they change every week. I mean, 25217 will be replaced in theory likely next week. So
right. Anyhow, widgets, yes. Third-party widgets.
Third-party widgets are coming slowly but surely. I still, and someone's going to prove me wrong, and I absolutely look forward to that day. I still don't know what widgets are left to be made that are going to change the universe, because you got your stock. It said your stew almost. You got your stock, news, weather, traffic.
Yep. So I'm going to look this up now because this is just my thing about widgets. So I have been an overt critic of this feature, whatever. Some people will say at least you can turn it off. Yeah. Except you don't really turn it off, right? What you're doing is removing the UI for it. You could still hit Windows key plus W and always bring this thing up. You can't really turn it off, but okay, whatever. It was garbage, like hot mess when it first shipped. Lots of bikini stories and celebrities you won't believe what she was wearing kind of thing. That has calmed down. But just as a tip, if look, a news feed it could be valuable, and I understand why people like this. I also understand why people might want a weather forecast in the taskbar. It's fine. If you go to the thing where you manage your interests, right, it brings up a website, which is like an MSN website. Go to the bottom, and there's a link called Tune Your Feed. If you're serious about possibly wanting to use this feature, Tune Your Feed. It's a little wizard. You don't have to sit there and micromanage every single news source, but it does a pretty good job of making widgets semi-useful. This is something I discovered over time, and then when I documented it for the book, I was like, okay, so this is a thing. So the problem for me with widgets is the problem with Windows 11 in general is just that they spit it out incomplete and with features missing that were available in the previous version, right? It's like the start menu, just like the taskbar. And one of the features that they had in Windows 10 that's missing now in Windows 11 is the ability not to launch widgets if you mouse over that weather forecast, right? The reason that's important is because the weather forecast is in the lower left corner of the screen, which is where Start used to be. Yes. And I don't know. I feel like the mouse cursor just ends up there all the time. Yeah. And widgets pops up. So, yes, third-party widgets, which technically should result in higher quality in the sense that stuff you might want, maybe, combined with this feature, right, both of which are being tested in the dev channel, might finally put widgets over the top.
Maybe
2 years after they shipped Windows 11, which shipped with a very incomplete version of this feature. Sorry to go on and on, but this is, to me, widgets is one great example of what the problem is with Windows 11 and how they will fix it over time. Why did they release it in such a terrible state and then brag about what a great product it was, a year ago?
Well, the important thing is they didn't brag about it a year later. But I'm betting they have to talk about.
You know what? Listen, the thing I love about you the most, I mean this honestly, is your memory. Like there is no slight too small. You will never forget this. Like I love that you will never forget this.
It's a curse. Like I can remember like who broke the news on like Microsoft Scoops and certain things, but you ask me my kid's school teacher name and I'm like, brr, like it's just mush. Yes. Like it's the uselessness of this information has no bounds.
That's no, it's Nate Bagazzi who's like school calls him and he's like, don't you have my wife's phone number? And he's like, we have both of them. He's like, and you called me? He's like, you'd have better luck asking a woman on the street. Like I have no idea what my kid's teacher's name is. I don't even know what school they go to. Anyway.
Now that I do know my daughters. Yes, I do my daughter.
Of course. I mean, I know
no, it took me a second. Now, if you ask me to log into the school portal and figure out where her
Hmm.
homework assignments and grades are, you might as well just ask me to solve, I don't know, some like quantum mechanic problem because it's
Listen, this is not the nature of this podcast, but men are useless. I mean, right? We can all
yeah,
agree to that. We do the minimum and then redefine the minimum to be something even lower. We're the worst. I mean, there's
yeah. I
no,
mean that's
and not maliciously, just through absolute laziness and procrastination. You basically have like someone else in a relationship who's like, no, this has to happen, and then they just make it happen, and then of course that makes your life easier, and it's just
well, it's like
35 years later, here we are.
actual conversation in our house 12 hours ago. My wife said, "Hey, your daughter and I, because my wife's going to pick her up from school, they got a play date with a friend. Is that okay? We'll be out for a while. You can just, hang out by yourself, play Xbox or something. Is that all right on Friday?" I'm like, it sounds like
Oh
the
my God,
greatest Friday ever.
ideal. Exactly.
Like get more Call of Duty time? Like,
I
yeah.
The way men are. I love my wife, but every
Yep.
once in a while he gets to sleep in a hotel bed or something, or he's at my friend's house last weekend. Want to sleep diagonally in there,
Yeah.
take up the whole thing.
Not have to
Oh,
worry
it's the
about the
best.
sheets getting ripped off.
Oh, it's the best.
There's.
It's,
Anyways,
yeah.
widgets.
Yes.
We are under a frost advisory as I look at this, which actually brings me some joy knowing that all the fucking mosquitoes out there, their days are numbered.
We don't have mosquitoes here, so that's
How do you not have
odd,
mosquitoes?
but I know. Look at this place. It's like the woods of Maine,
Yeah.
and no, there's no mosquitoes.
Wow.
Yep. I don't know why. It doesn't make any sense. But I think I've seen one mosquito the entire time I've been here.
Hmm.
He was lonely.
He was lonely. No, he was whatever. I mean that's kind of been the Google had their event. The Pix. Did you order a Pixel 7, Paul Thurrott?
No, and you and probably anyone watching and listening knows me well enough to know I'm gonna stress over this now for the next few days.
Absolutely.
But oh, and we should talk about the Eero thing. This is related to that. You know, obviously anything like look, I'm ready to jump ecosystems anytime anyone makes has a launch event. I mean, Amazon did their thing, Google did their thing, Apple did their thing, And yeah, of course, I've gone through the configurator many times. There's some photography things going on with this new Pixel 7 Pro, which is very interesting. I can't justify spending that amount of money because even with the trade-in, it would be $400 and something, and it's like it's just not that much. It doesn't solve the problems with this device. I'm interested in the photo stuff. Realistically, I'm not switching to Pixel again right now. So, and it's like just to get on the second gen, like to get on the next, well, I guess it is the second gen of this Tensor stuff. I guess I could trade in my Pro and get the non-Pro version of the 7. It would be like $120, after the trade-in. And like, yeah, okay, that makes some sense. But it doesn't have any of those things that would be interesting about it to me. Like it's, photography stuff. It has a flat screen, which I very much prefer. Smaller screen, which I very much prefer. But no, I guess the answer is no. I mean, Google did send me a Pixel 6a. Maybe they'll send me one of these things, and that would be great. I'd love to review it. I really do want to see the photo stuff. But I just can't justify it. And
it's money.
It's money, yeah. And so related to that, so a bunch of people sent us that Lightning thing on Amazon for Prime members.
Oh yeah, that Aero deal last night.
63 pack is $699 normally. It's on sale or was on sale. I don't know if it ended already, but $420, which is $20 more than the Google same thing. Okay, very, very interesting. You can do a trade-in. I have I did it. I went through it and showed it to my wife just in case she wanted,
in case you wanted to push me over that much.
Very tight. Well, we've been discussing it. I've been trying to put this idea in her head. Like, this is happening. It's just a matter of timing. And Google Wi-Fi 3-pack plus a 1 is $35 on trade. Maybe $45. It was nothing. So it's like it's still $400. I also I wrote an article. I did write the article I mentioned. I fixed. I mean, I re-plugged in is how I fixed it. But the Sonos Boost I have is not working. So my Sonos devices are all on a Sonos net. Sort of solves the reliability problem, which is honestly the big deal from my wife's perspective. I didn't buy one.
Yeah.
Even though it was, I will. I actually did a price track. There's a service called Keepa, like Keep with an A on the end. So I'm doing a price tracker on it. If it gets down to that lower in the future and it makes more sense in the future, I will. But this has just been a tough year for us financially because of the apartment. And I don't know if you know how interest rates have gone up, but our monthly payment on this thing has doubled.
Yeah.
So we're just not.
Well,
and we have a turbo in my BMW that's being fixed right now to the tune of at least $4,000.
Ooh.
Yeah. So, yeah, faster Wi-Fi would be nice, and I want it very badly, but I think we have to agree that's a luxury at this point. So
well,
it's just not the right time.
I still struggle with so we have 2 Nest cams on the outside of our house. My wife actually wants to add a third because where I put one of them maybe isn't ideal. And so like we want to get a third because it points, then the whole house is blanketed or whatever in camera for when Ricky the
and you chose Nest. There's some interest there. I mean, the Google thing might be the better choice for you.
But here's the problem, Paul. I can count on my hand the number of times it didn't stream perfectly. Like it's like if I log into a camera right now over Wi-Fi, it's perfectly fine. Everything else in my house that I care about for the most part is hardwired. All the Apple TVs, my PC, my Xbox.
Okay. So you have wiring. That makes a big difference. I was going to say,
so like
you have a device-heavy home. So
yeah,
I don't mean I'm really not trying to push you over the edge here, but I think you, like me, like many people listening, could justify this.
Sure.
And not in an underhanded way where you're like, honey, I really just want this, but I'm going to try to make you think it's important. Like, I actually do think it would make a difference, but actually if you're essentially wired.
Minus the cameras, like even a bunch of our
Wi-Fi
Sonos gear is wired. Like all of the.
See, I can't do wired, so I mean, I'm not doing wired. So.
Well, before I finished the basement, I ran wired everywhere. Like it's everywhere I could think I could need it. It's there now. So.
Yep, that's great.
So now it's
there
like.
You go. There's your. Yeah, it's more right. So actually, I have more of a need than you do for sure. But
for sure.
It's not the right moment.
And then even still going to the Google, which makes sense, but the ubiquity stuff would make even more sense because I could take the existing repeaters. Now, granted, they won't be 6E, but I could put them like in the eaves of my house, like because I have outdoor power outlets if I really wanted.
Right.
And they continue to work. And it's like
I like the Eero idea not because I want Alexa speakers in my home, but he says with a Boston accent. But I do have these far kind of crannies of the home where if there was a last mile problem, we could throw a $50 speaker in there and it would work. Like that's useful. I don't know. Yep. Anyway, I'll just say sometime in the next 6-something months I will do this, but it's just not the right time. I appreciate a lot of people email me, hit me on Twitter.
Yeah, thankfully, I mean, I was happy people did it.
People have been great about that. Yeah.
When I was watching the Google of it, the one thing that stood out that I thought would actually be more interesting to you is the watch, just because it has the Fitbit functionality and you're on Android.
Yeah. Let me explain why. I've used Fitbit. Fitbit's terrible. So also, the watch doesn't come together as a complete whole. So like when you make a decision about anything like this, you kind of have to evaluate all the things. Like if it was only photography, I'd probably go buy a Huawei and then, whatever. But realistically speaking, I might just get a Samsung or I might go with the Google Pixel 7 Pro, right? If it was just photography, but you have to consider the whole thing. And we'll see what the face unlock, if the fingerprint reader's improved, et cetera. We'll see what the reviews look like. We have time, we can figure that out. With the watch, this is a 4-year-old chipset. It has the biggest bezels in the industry.
Yep.
It's small. My eyesight's not fantastic, and Fitbit is terrible. Like the Fitbit tracking stuff is terrible. Like one of my decisions to go with the Apple Watch wasn't about how great the Apple Watch was. It was about how terrible Fitbit is. Now, a little asterisk to that is they talked about how the two teams came together. They had these guys at Google working on AI stuff, and they had the team from Fitbit that was working on how do we evaluate the type of information we're getting off of a light sensor on the back of a wearable. And they combined what they were doing. And in the same way that Google can make a blurry picture clear they might be able to take this crap data, data that they're getting from Fitbit, and not turn it into crap on the feedback side, or the information that the user gets. Maybe, maybe they're able to do something with that. Fitbit was the missing piece they didn't have to make a watch. But I would not trust this first generation device. And I think we all know Google well enough. It's going to be a better one next year. We'll have that year of information about how well it actually works. There'll be people who actually know what they're talking about. I just forgot his name. There's a guy on YouTube I follow who is an extreme athlete, and he does very detailed reviews of all wearables.
Mm-hmm.
And he talks about how, he wears a chest strap, and this is accurate or not accurate, that kind of thing. We'll see. We'll see how it ends up. But I just bought an Apple. I'm not going to, honestly, I'm really happy with this thing. I mean, it's worked really well. I've gotten into a schedule where I charge it for 30 minutes in the afternoon. When I'll go up and lay on the bed usually and write, and charge the thing. It's fine. It's worked out fine. And like right now, it's I usually wake up at 70-something% when I wake up. It's 63 right now. So in the middle of the afternoon, I'll charge it for 30 minutes. It's fine. I can sleep with it. It's fine. So, and just for whatever it's worth, I mean, the Apple presentation, data, it's fantastic and much more detailed and useful than what I got from Fitbit. Like it's excellent. Yeah. So good luck, Google. I want you to succeed. But I've watched for years and years as your smart home stuff has just kind of stagnated and gone nowhere. And I've watched Amazon just fire hose it. And I don't know. I'm not saying I don't want smart speakers all around my house, but as far as smart home, when it comes time, I'm going to buy a smart door lock kind of a thing for the apartment in Mexico.
That's on our list too.
Yep. And I'm not going to get cameras in Mexico, but I mean, there'll be things like air quality sensors, which is important in a place that can be very polluted, by the way, or water sensors maybe, because we're not going to be there all the time, so we want to make sure nothing's spilling, whatever. Anyway, the point is there are going to be decisions that have to be made, and you're going to make, Matter might solve some of these problems, obviously, but you're going to choose an ecosystem. And I don't know, if you would ask me a year ago, 5 years ago, I would have said Google's going to nail this. And as time goes by, they have not nailed this. They seem really passive about it, So anyway, I'm sorry, it was a really long explanation, but there's a lot that goes into these kind of decisions,
There's a lot going on next week. We got Surface event, and we've got Ignite. So,
yep.
Should be good.
We shall see.
We'll see you Monday. Unless the meteor hits.
All right, it's Friday. That's great.